And good morning. I'm WFIN News Director Doug Jenkins coming to you live from the University of Findlay's new College of Business building. We're joined by Dr. Dr Arburn, who is a professor here in the business department. And for today's purposes, you're also involved with the investment club here at the university. Tell me a little bit about that.
I am. Well, we have a student-managed account. Students manage the money, have it invested in various different securities, and make money with it.
So that's always interesting in its own right. But lately, in the last year or 6 months or so, one of the big things people talk about investing in is cryptocurrency, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Bitcoin, probably, if you want to make it the Xerox of cryptocurrency right now. But that's basically what we're talking about today. What it is, should people be involved in it, that type of thing. And we'll start off with the as basic as we can get with it.
Yeah.
What is cryptocurrency? When you hear Bitcoin, that's people want to know. Well, all right, what are we talking about?
What are we talking about? What are cryptocurrencies? Well,
if only it were that easy.
If only it were that easy. There's a necessity to understand the difference between cryptocurrencies and digital currencies.
Okay.
And what currencies are to begin with. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, well, is cryptocurrency going to take over? Will it replace the dollar? That sort of thing. But so we'll back up and we'll start with what's a cryptocurrency. So a cryptocurrency is a type of a digital currency, but it's not the same thing. Basically, the difference between the digital currency and a cryptocurrency is a digital currency is like a stored value card. Like students may here have a card that's just a credit card type thing, but it's only usable here. You know what I'm talking about.
It's your munch money thing.
Yeah, Kroger card, McDonald's card, whatever you want to call them. That's a digital currency.
Okay.
It's probably also denominated in dollars, right? Which is the basic currency. Now, cryptocurrency is different in the sense that it's decentralized. It's not controlled by the Fed. It's not controlled by the Department of Treasury. It's not. It's entirely decentralized. It's not in any one place. A cryptocurrency doesn't exist at all in physical form. It only exists on the internet.
One of the things that I've read about it, because it's decentralized, that actually makes it a more secure way to do business in some instances because it's not all in one location. So you can't just hack into the Bitcoin headquarters and take all of the Bitcoin.
Well,
at least that's the theory behind it.
When I was looking earlier at putting together a list of risks associated with cryptocurrencies, that's one of the things that keeps coming to the top. You hear where someone's hacked and stole someone's Bitcoin.
Okay.
So
your account could be
hacked,
you have
and your Bitcoin can be taken. So I've heard stories where the only way that you can successfully keep your Bitcoin safe, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whichever one you may have, is because it's on a hard drive somewhere. It's got to be on some kind of a storage device, right?
Right.
So you put it on a hard drive, disconnect the hard drive from the computer, and put it in a safe. No one can get to it there. At least at this point, there's no technology to get through the safe wirelessly and pull it back out.
I'm sure that's in development by the world's hackers.
Now,
you did bring up an interesting point. You mentioned Ethereum, and I think a lot of times when people hear cryptocurrency, they think Bitcoin and think it's kind of an interchangeable thing, whereas there are many different types of cryptocurrency, Ethereum being one of them.
Ethereum being one of them, Monero being another. Litecoin. Oh, I have a list in my office, but I don't have
pretty
it
extensive at this point.
There's 30, 40 digital currencies or cryptocurrencies, I should have said, out there. Bitcoin is the largest by far. There's Bitcoin Cash, there's Ethereum Cash, there's there's another important one that I can't seem to remember at the moment, but Bitcoin is, I think, like 150 some odd billion dollar market cap. It's the largest by far, and the most well known.
So cryptocurrency really started to grab the spotlight just before Christmas is really when all of a sudden it was on fire, and one Bitcoin was approaching nearly $20,000 per Bitcoin. It's not there now. What drove that?
What drove that? That's the thing that I was going to ask you that.
I wish I knew.
Well, over the last year, 2 years, I don't remember precisely, Bitcoin's literally gone from $200 to $20,000 per coin, and then back down to $6,900, something like that. So it was that, and a lot of that escalation in price was very recent, not as far back as 2 years ago or 1 year ago. But so it was that crazy escalation in valuation that got a lot of attention.
And that's almost like how any other stock can play, where all of a sudden there's a lot of hype behind it and people just start throwing money at it and not really fully understanding it. They just know it's going up.
It's going up, yeah, and then all of a sudden it starts to go back down. You start to feel kind of bad about it. I've watched it very closely in terms of its valuation, and the market analysts and the strategists and what they think. They all think it goes toward 40,000 toward the end of this year. We'll see. It'll be interesting to watch and see if it happens.
Now it's interesting the way that we're talking about it. It's a currency, but it seems like most people are treating it as an investment. Do people actually spend a Bitcoin? Can I go to obviously I can't go to McDonald's and pay for a Big Mac in Bitcoin, nor would you want to, because you'd be paying an awful lot for a Big Mac there. But are there companies or retailers that do accept Bitcoin as a currency?
It's becoming increasingly acceptable. It's becoming, from especially online retailers' perspective, that we want to be able to accept Bitcoin, because there is a group of investors, buyers out there that want to use this currency, in part because of its secrecy.
Okay.
Your name's not attached to it. You didn't. It's not like Doug bought it.
Right.
You know, when the transaction occurred.
It's not coming back on my Chase bill.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's really interesting about these cryptocurrencies is they're essentially, well, I want to say, they don't know who it is.
Right.
And so that can have an attractive feature to it, and it can also have several unattractive features to it, I suppose, in the sense that it can be organized crime, it can be organized criminal governments, let's say. I didn't say it quite that way. But
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Like a rogue state of some sort.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people funneling money to North Korea or something like that.
Thank you. I didn't have to say it. But yeah, there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of those out there that are, so they're using these currencies substantially. People are still mining those currencies. Still mining Bitcoin, still mining Ethereum and whatnot.
And that's another thing that maybe people, and honestly, I've researched the subject and I don't quite understand. Is there a limited number of this currency? Because you hear it talk about mining, and what they're talking about is data mining, and it's a computer code type of thing. Is it set to eventually run out, or is it an unlimited quantity?
I'm not an expert on any of this, but my understanding is that in order to mine additional Bitcoin, you have to have a computer system that processes, and the blockchain thing that it does gets increasingly more difficult. So as time passes, the cost or the processing requirement to mine the next Bitcoin gets increasingly more difficult.
So a lot harder to do that.
So one of the reasons we've seen so much escalation in value of companies like NVIDIA, for example, is because they produce graphics cards, right?
Right.
And so I think what a person needs that's going to successfully mine coin is not strong CPUs on their computer, but rather graphics cards. So they're not really using computers, they're using an array of graphics cards, because the graphics cards are parallel processors, like used in video games and stuff like that, whereas your computers are serial processors and don't process near as much information at one time, whereas the graphics card does. And that's why we've seen so many companies like NVIDIA and others do so well, because they can't keep up in the manufacture.
Can't keep up to the
cards.
demand of it.
Yeah.
So I think if I'm watching this at home and I'm curious about it, is Bitcoin or cryptocurrency something people should look at investing in? And I understand that maybe we'll put the disclaimer there that this, if you put money in it, this isn't investment advice, but we're just kind of talking about it. But just as you look at it, what are your thoughts of it as an investment?
I haven't invested in it yet. I've thought about it substantially. And so the way I've reasoned around this is something that I want to look at, so I'm going to observe it, and I have been for a period of time. I'm like a lot of other people that kind of came on my radar back November-ish,
right when it started to heat up.
It started to go up so much, and I get asked a lot of questions. And so my thought is I'm going to kind of look at it and see, because something that goes from 20,000 down to 7,000 is a little scary.
Right.
So from an investment perspective, it's a little worrisome. If you're invested in the stock market, that's controlled by the SEC. There's a regulator in place. If you're invested in commodities and things of that nature, there's a CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, that's watching these things and making sure the market operates well. In the case of these coin exchanges, I don't think that's the case. I think we're getting increased scrutiny. More recently, the CFTC has allowed futures contracts. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group has created futures contracts on Bitcoin. And to my knowledge, that's the only cryptocurrency they've done that on. So in the sense that the futures contracts exist, that exist in a market where the CFTC is controlling it. So there's a regulator there. But
right.
when you go to this Coinbase exchange or places like that, there's no regulatory entity that's really monitoring these like other security type assets here in the United States, and that's something you need to be aware of.
And also worth mentioning, as we said before, there's so many different versions of these cryptocurrencies out there, and you've heard of Bitcoin, you've heard of Ethereum, those types of things. Those seem like at least they're not going to go away tomorrow, but some of these you could invest in. Somebody who created it can say, all right, got your money, see you later.
That can happen. So one of the things that's become a new household term is an ICO, which is initial coin offering. So in the stock or bond market, we might have an IPO, an initial public offering of stock or bond. So in this case, an ICO, well, this is an upstart company that's looking to create a new currency, right? Like one of the others. If you could create a new currency and it would become successful, you could make a lot of money at it, right?
True.
If you get the value to go from $1 to $10,000 or anywhere in between, you can make a lot of money at it. So that's happening. I'm not aware entirely of the regulation that exists in that. It's not the same as in the initial public offering market in the United States, right? It's just different. It's not as well regulated, and so there's all those additional risks attached to that.
All right. Well, Dr. Arburn, we appreciate you joining us. If people want to learn more about cryptocurrency and just maybe do their homework or just find out the history of it, what are some good resources?
Google it.
Easy enough.
That's what I tell my students. It's a sign of intelligence if you can Google it, and that's I try to get them in class when some new topic comes up is Google it. But yeah, Google it and read. Look on Investopedia's website. Make sure it's a respectable website, that sort of thing, and look for some of that content. And you'll eventually run across some of these places. Coinbase is a place that I think you can invest in and buy into some 2 or 3 of those currencies, or 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah, 4, I believe. Yeah.
But just do some homework. If you're going to do it, sit down, carve out some time, and do the research and read about it until you feel more comfortable.
All right. Again, Dr. Arburn from the University of Findlay joining us. I appreciate your time today. And again, if you have an idea for one of these segments, again, I'm just taking the iPad out, the microphones, and talking about stuff that I find interesting. But if there's something going on in the community you'd like more information on, post it in the comments section on this particular video, and we'll see who we can drum up to talk about it. We'll see you next time on our next Facebook Live interview.